I'm so happy and excited to share two of my recent success stories, which are a little bit extra joyous and special for me because they're related to my birthday, which was just a few days ago in this very month. And this will be very special for all of you Law of Assumption students who ardently follow Neville Goddard like me. If you need a little more hand holding on these topics that can be still manifest on a time crunch, what if you're feeling a little low vibe? And third, what if it seems like really, really improbable and unlikely today in the 3D? I'm going to answer all these three questions with these very recent success stories, so stay tuned till the end. By the way, hi, I'm Nidhi. You can also call me Nids like most of my friends do. I'm a law of assumption and mindset coach, and we talk all things conscious creation on this channel. I'm a little bit of a career zigzagger as well. A little bit of context on me. I've been in corporate sales. I was a TV personality for almost a decade. And the last leg of my career was that of startups. I was a startup founder running startups for almost a decade. And that was my last avatar. And law of assumption has been very exciting. And I discovered law of assumption maybe about 3, 4 years ago. And since then, I've been able to map my entire life. And I'm thoroughly convinced that everything in my life, whether good, bad, or ugly, is all following the theories of law of assumption. So I have hardcore conviction on law of assumption. That, of course, means that when I have to manifest something significant or important, my ego does throw me in a doubtful loop, but I come back sooner than later to my decision. So that's a little bit about me. Now, let's jump into the success stories. Like I mentioned, I'm a career zigzagger, so I've just folded my startup. Things didn't work out. And so now I'm looking to manifest the next career phase. And I have rich data. I've had an amazing professional career, enriching experiences. And so I have real data on the phases of my career where I really flourished, blossomed, and I was very, very happy. And also data when I was working hard, but really not fulfilled, unhappy, and really stressed out. So now, because I have data from both these phases, I want to manifest a career where I can again flourish and really be very intentional and conscious of my career choices. As you can guess, this could be a little bit of an important manifestation for my ego. And so it was giving me a lot of doubts, a lot of what ifs. And like Neville says, that every time you want to know whether this works or not, just test it out. And I always do this. Anyway, for I think this universe, there's nothing small or big, whether it's $10, 100, or a million. It's the same. Why? Because let me again give you some context. We're on a mud ball spinning around sun. I don't know what speed, but I'm able to sit here because of some law called gravity and able to talk to you, right? And you could be thousands of miles away from me, but you're able to see me and hear me and all of that. And the greatest of the scientists haven't been able to tell us where does the universe start and end? So definitely this universe at large is beyond our intellectual mind for it to comprehend, which means, if this universe is so generous and abundant, can do all of these things, I'm sure $1 million is not too big of a deal. If it can manifest about 8 billion humans on this planet, each with distinct features and distinct personality, I'm sure, again, $1 million or a love interest or marriage or a certain promotion is not too much of an ask for the universe. But again, for the ego, which has a lot of conditioning and limiting beliefs, it could be a little bit of a stretch, right? So from that context, this career phase is a little bit of a stretch for me, although I'm doing pretty good that way, but still. So I wanted to put it to test again. And my birthday, by the way, was on 8th of May. And this thought of putting the law to test again, trying to manifest things here and there, just to test it out and reinstate and keep my confidence really high on law of assumption. One of my evening walks, I said, this thought sprang to my mind, why not manifest flowers? I love flowers, and I said, yeah, that'll be a good thing. Let me just manifest flowers. And like for a fraction of a second, I had this thought, but flowers, it's going to give me flowers. But I just brush it off. And then on 7th of May, on my post dinner walk, I had this thought again that, hey, by the way, I was thinking of manifesting flowers, and tomorrow is my birthday. It would be so nice, or wouldn't it be nice if I got flowers from someone on my birthday? And again, the very next thought was, it's so unlikely and improbable that someone would gift you flowers. Okay, for all you guys who feel that, oh, this is the easiest manifestation, again, let me add some more details to the situation. So right now, I'm based out of Bangalore, which is like the startup capital of India. But I'm not from Bangalore. I've spent most of my life in Bombay. And so all my social circle, my friends, all of them are in Bombay. And I moved here 4 years ago, but I've been doing 100 hours plus week of work every week for the last so many years running my startup. And so I've not been social. I've not really made new friends or even been able to connect with the friends I had in Bombay over a call, etc. I've just been working. And now when I folded my startup, I don't even have an active team, because otherwise, if you have a team, you go to office, they know your birthday. Of course, they make you feel special. They give you flowers, you cut a cake and all of that. But this time, because I don't have any active team, I don't have a team, and also on social media platforms about 3-4 years ago, I switched off all the birthday reminders. I said, why remind everyone on all these social media platforms that it's my birthday somehow? Although I really, really think of birthdays as very special days, and whether I've celebrated it with my family, friends, or by myself in the last few years in Bangalore, I've ensured that I feel like a princess and I feel special. So birthdays are very special for me, and I like to make my friends or family members feel special if I'm around them for their birthday. So now you know that the thought on 7th May post dinner around 10 p.m. was like, okay, this is interesting. Flowers, birthday, there is a correlation, but highly improbable. Um, Let me back it up a little. One of these walks, not too long ago, like maybe a few days before my birthday, a week or two, I met with an acquaintance, and in sort of friendly way, I just happened to express that, wouldn't it be nice if I just took, if we just took flights impromptu, just to meet our near and dear ones without planning too much, that adventure, that excitement, that playfulness, that aliveness, all of that is really very attractive. Why are we always planning? Because with plans what happens, right? You always have obstacles ready. Everyone who's been planning travel will agree with me, right? So I think that was the genesis of that thought. And I perhaps mentioned it to her like twice. Every time we went on a walk, some topic was broached, and I said, yeah, this is really nice. I feel this will be really nice. And so this had happened, right? Now comes 8th of May, the morning happens, I wake up with a mood of neutral to nice. And then I said, what do? I said, okay, let me treat myself to a movie. I am a movie buff, FYI, So this was smooth. There was this movie releasing on 7th of May, and it looked really pretty, and it was a mythological movie. And I said, hey, it'll be a good idea to go for this movie. And so I went to watch the movie. Just before I entered the theater, a very dear friend of mine from Bombay called to wish me on my birthday, but I was just going to enter. And I said, hey, and I don't know why I said, by the way, if you overachieve your revenue targets, he's a startup founder as well. So I don't know why I asked him this, said, if you overachieve your revenue targets this year, how would you like to treat me? He said, it's your birthday, you tell me. And I said, oh, okay, maybe a chai in a nice 5-star hotel would be good. And for folks not from India, chai is a very delicious hot beverage here. It's basically Indian flavorful tea. And it's really nice and refreshing. So that was it. I went for the movie. But in the middle of the movie, I started to feel very drowsy, very tired, very low on physical energy, which was then draining my emotional energy as well. And by the time I came out of the theater, I wasn't feeling good at all. And it was my birthday. My intention was to make myself feel very special, and that wasn't happening. And it was already maybe 7:30 p.m. To salvage my day, let me do the next best thing, which usually works very well for any kind of mood that I am in, which is go to a nice coffee shop with a lovely book. So I had Neville with me. I usually carry Neville with me most of the times. Yeah, you can call me crazy, but that man was a genius, right? So I said, let me sit with my favorite cup of green tea and Neville, and I will be fine. Lo and behold, I sit with Neville, but because I'm feeling physically so tired and drowsy, I'm not able to uplift my mood. There is no pick me up happening. I'm not able to cheer myself up. In fact, I do have this nagging thought that I think the society has become too compressed and limited because of the marital structures. I do believe in the institution of marriage. I have deep respect for it. However, I feel that humanity operating or limiting itself just to familial bonds or blood relationships sounds very limiting and a lot of times sort of inhuman, right? So I have this nagging thought, and I don't know why on my birthday this thought, the volume started to get louder and louder that why don't, and by the time I came home, it was around 10 p.m. I changed into my night suit, and the thought that was going on in my head was, why don't I have a group of friends who drove to my apartment and said, get your ass down in 10 minutes and get two pairs of clothes, don't ask where we're going. And I, of course, ask them questions like, where are we going? What about work? This, that. But they don't succumb to my limiting egoic questions, but they stay put with their demand that calm down. And I go down and we have a fantastic time. I was having this feeling and I was like, oh my God, all my very dear friends, with all my love to them, they're all married and they're just busy with their, marital responsibilities. And I understand that. It's not that I was feeling resentful or blaming anyone, but I hope you're able to get my drift. A friend of mine called, a very dear friend of mine, but she was in another city doing some certification course. So with her, I pretended like my birthday was going well and everything is going well and all of that. But this other friend who had called me before the movie, I don't know why, I had this sudden urge to call him. I just felt that it's my birthday and I should at least vent it out, share how I'm feeling on my birthday. And I've not been in day-to-day touch with him. Once I moved to Bangalore, like I said, I wasn't in touch with like any of my friends, and so I didn't know at 10:30 p.m. is he awake? Is he asleep? Am I going to be disturbing him? I had no clue, but I just felt compelled to call him. And I called him and he answered my call and I started to vent out. I had a lump in my throat. And I think he pretty much guessed that something is off. And he says, how far are you from the airport? And I very nonchalantly told him 20 minutes. And he said, can you take a flight to Bombay now? There is a 1 a.m. flight. Is it possible? And I was so excited that someone even at least proposed this idea, which wasn't this clinically planned and sanitized. And, he had such a generous and kind heart that he just, without thinking too much, felt for me and offered this. I was already feeling pretty good. And he was asking me, hey, can we do this? And obviously, because I folded my startup, I was thinking I should be very mindful of my finances. I should have comfortable runway till the time I establish myself in whatever career I want to go for next. And so I told him, so he said, but who is asking you about money? I'm booking your flight, I'm booking your stay. You just have to pack and leave. And I just couldn't hold back. I thought I will anyway pay him, so let me now pack. I told him, okay, I'll pack. At 11:30, 11:45, I got in the cab. I called him again. Remember, this friend of mine had a long week at work. It was a long day at work. And it's not that I was in touch with him every day for him to know what I was going through, really. I had a great flight. So if you can see, I did not spin my wheels to make all of this happen. I took the flight. It was a very comfortable flight. I landed. I didn't sleep a wink. Landed at 4. And at 4:30, my friend was at the airport and he calls me that I'm here. Where are you? He was there to pick me up. I saw him. I was so excited. We found this lovely Leela Palaces property near the airport. You can look it up. It's amazing. We sat there, we found a guy called Dylan in the cafe. We explained our customized chais. Like for me, it's a dash of milk, strong, flavorful tea with a little bit of ginger. And for my vegan friend, it was oat milk chai. And so chai came. And so chai comes, it's really delicious, very refreshing. We are having a good time. And at 5:30, around 5:30ish, my friend says, "Hey, I'll be back." And he comes back and he has this lovely, bright bouquet of sunflowers for me. I could not believe my eyes. So happy. I still feel the moment, like, that I can frame for the rest of my life. And also, I was asking him the stupid question that, by the way, did I ask you to buy me flowers? Because my eyes were literally going to pop out of the sockets because I couldn't believe that my manifestation was happening, right? Like, I just thought of it on 7th of May, post 10 p.m. And yes, the flowers are coming to me 9th May at around 5:30 p.m., but they were for my birthday. The universe, I mean, it can conspire. It's a genius. Our intellectual mind can never, ever, ever follow or know the how. And I was so amazed. I was so, so amazed, right? So that was the story. And by the way, the second manifestation was also amazing. Remember, I told you that on one of the walks, not too many days before my birthday, I happened to mention to this acquaintance that it wouldn't be nice to just impromptu book a flight and meet a friend and not plan everything so much, not have everything so sanitized. And look, that had happened. That had happened as well. Now, the only difference between the flowers and the flights, again, there is a big lesson here that the flowers were like a conscious intention manifestation. I'd set that intention consciously, I was aware of it. Whereas the flight was just in my mind a lovely thought. It was more or less like, wouldn't it be nice if this happened? So it was an unconscious assumption that I had taken. So most of our lives, we've been manifesting unconsciously like this. But in the case of flights, the outcome was a positive, joyous one. But a lot of times in our life, when the intention is unconscious, we do see negative outcomes. And when we see negative outcomes in the 3D, it reinforces those negative limiting thought patterns and beliefs, and it's a vicious, infinite feedback loop. So here in these success stories, you saw that number one, it seemed highly unlikely, improbable. These are actually very kind words. It was almost impossible for me to get, flowers on my birthday, at least this year. Number two, this was a time crunch. I wanted to manifest flowers, but on 7th of May around 10 p.m., I added birthday to it. So it's just like 2 hours for the universe to fulfill my request. And number three, on my birthday, most part of my day, I was on low vibe. I was off kilter. So here is your answer that even when you're manifesting and not feeling great, you don't have to feel happy all the time. What is important? You will and you can have opposing thoughts. Like I told you about the flowers, every time I thought about the flowers, the very next thought was, who's going to give me flowers? So this is an opposing thought. But the fact here is the thought didn't carry enough negative emotional charge or negative energy to form into an opposing identity. It was more a playful thought. Perhaps because my ego didn't link it to my survival. It was like, okay, if you get flowers, that's amazing. But if you do not get flowers, we're not going to die, you see? So I was being playful. The energy was more playful. And so it didn't form an opposing identity. So this is again one very important point to remember, that whenever you're manifesting and if you're having opposing thoughts, but if they carry playful energy, harmless energy, they do not have the power to form an opposing identity, you see, which thinks that your survival is threatened. And so these opposing thoughts are actually pretty harmless. One more way of looking at it is that anytime when you're manifesting, if your concept about yourself, with or without the manifestation, is of abundance, is of I am whole by myself, I'm complete by myself, Whether this happens or not, if it happens, marvelous. If it doesn't happen, I'm anyway joyful. Then any opposing thought you see doesn't hamper your manifestation. Any opposing thought is not able to catch up enough momentum to become an opposing identity, which is then trying to protect you from something that it feels is threatening your survival, you see. But anytime when you're manifesting from lack, which means, for example, I need this amount, I need this promotion, I need to marry this person has not texted me, is he seeing someone else? Is he going to break up with me or she going to break up with me? What is she thinking? All of these thoughts are coming from lack. If he doesn't text you or if he breaks up with you, what's going to happen? You're going to crash, which means you're not whole by yourself, right? You're not I am. If you are the source of all your experiences, like I'm forgetting this YouTuber who always says this, that nothing real can be threatened, and that's such a powerful line, right? So who is this person who's going to feel threatened if you do not get that raise, if you do not get the promotion, if you do not marry that person? That is the ego which is falsely linking your survival to this outcome, right? So that's not coming from source at all. So I hope you could see very clearly how manifestation actually is very simple. This is so powerful, but before I leave you, I want to read from Neville, this chapter called At Your Command, the very fundamental of the law of assumption. And one more thing, a lot of people say that don't do mindless YouTube binging, even for law of assumption. I sort of disagree. I watch a lot of YouTube videos and a lot of coaches who speak about law of assumption, and most of these things I'm very well aware of. But it's like brushing your teeth. Just because I brushed my teeth yesterday, that doesn't mean I'm not going to do it today. Just because I showered yesterday, that doesn't mean I'm not going to shower today, because dirt sticks to you every day, right? So the old conditioning will come back unless I keep reminding myself and keep making this new identity very, very strong. So I want to leave you on a very, very positive note. Again, Moses stated, I am that I am. Now, here is something to always bear in mind. You cannot put new wine in old bottles or new patches upon old garments. That is, you cannot take with you into the new consciousness any part of the old man. All of your present beliefs, fears, and limitations are weights that bind you to your present level of consciousness. If you would transcend this level, you must leave behind all that is now your present self or conception of yourself. To do this, you take your attention away from all that is now your problem or limitation and dwell upon just being. That is, you say silently but feeling to yourself, I am. Do not condition this awareness as yet. Just declare yourself to be and continue to do so until you are lost in the feeling of just being faceless and formless. When this expansion of consciousness is attained, then within this formless deep of yourself, give form to the new conception by feeling yourself to be that which you desire to be. You will find within this deep of yourself all things to be divinely possible. Everything in the world which you can conceive of being is to you, within this present formless awareness, a most natural attainment. Did you hear that? This is so empowering. This is so powerful. I want to repeat this to you. Everything in the world which you can conceive of being is to you, within this present formless awareness, a most natural attainment. Right? So your $1,000,000 or your marriage is not difficult for the universe, which is built so many stars, my heart, my lungs, my kidneys, and your kidneys. I think it's pretty magical, and your ask is not too big. In fact, talking about this expansion thing, if you also listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza, His meditations, if you've seen, the first 10-15 minutes are all about expanding your awareness. And I've experienced this, that once you do that, once your awareness is expanded, you're not entangled with your limiting beliefs and thoughts so much. And so you can plant that seed of that new identity much more powerfully. So, on that note, I hope that you could feel my success stories. By the way, if you like what I'm sharing, do give me that thumbs up. That really helps and motivates. Also, subscribe, because I'm going to upload a lot of videos. There are so many questions that people have. I hear all this all the time, that what do you do when you're waiting for your manifestation? Do you have to believe in your assumptions? And many such questions. If you have any such nagging questions, I always encourage, please put them in the comments. I'll try my best to answer or make a video on one of them, right? So let's keep interacting. And I hope this was useful. Thank you for now. Till next time. Bye bye.